evening and welcome to Beer Blather 173, the Russian tea, or should I say, cool room. Um, that's going to be quite interesting because I don't think anybody knows crap about this.
No.
And hopefully by the end of 2 hours, uh, we won't have an idea either, but at least we're going to have some fun not having an idea. This is Saul Montes-Bradley, the largest human repository of useless information from Virginia at long last. And right there, right next to me with the funny beanie, uh, Thomas Wictor, the only living expert in World War One flamethrowers. And we're ready not to rumble, because otherwise we'd be in rumble, but to uh, waste a couple of hours of your time while we enjoy ourselves talking about the things that interest us. If they happen to be yours, well, so much the better, isn't it?
Yes.
Thomas, how
Hey.
are you doing?
Oh, I'm good. I've been researching all day. Once I was hoping I'd wake up today to find that Vladimir Putin was either, in I don't know, China,
In a coma?
in a coma in China, or hanging from a lamppost. But then
Yes.
I was watching. They suddenly announced that there was a deal, and the weirdest thing is the near total indifference of the Western media to something that theoretically could have led to the unleashing of nuclear weapons. So it was like, are we still going to be talking about the Titanic, the Titan submarine? They all, with the exception of the 19-year-old, they all chose to go down voluntarily. And
You mean the Pakistani boy?
yeah, he didn't want to go,
Yeah.
but his father, you don't say no to your father in Pakistan, and
No.
his father made him. And okay, it would have happened instantaneously. So if it was an implosion, and then of course there were the conspiracy theories that the government knew about it, but they covered it up
No.
in order to distract
They,
from.
they distract us from the non issue with Hunter Biden.
Also, the reality is that they heard something that they couldn't classify. They didn't go, "Oh, that's an implosion," because when was the last time a submarine imploded? Was it the Thresher or something? Like 60 years ago? Nobody knows what the sound of a submarine implosion is. So, they gave the Coast Guard the coordinates, and then they found but
I don't know.
they found the Navy's recorded sounds that they eventually discovered were blue whale farts.
Yes.
It baffled so-called experts for years, until finally they had I think it was a gray whale. There was some baby gray whale that they washed up on a beach, and it's the only large whale. What the hell are they called? Not pinnipeds, that's seals. Anyway, it's the only one that they were able to save, and they were really amazed at its behavior. It was very sour tempered, and it farted all the time. And the sound that it produced, they videotaped it, and you could see the bubbles leaving its butthole. And they determined that was the sound they were hearing, only the sound they'd recorded in the ocean was massive, and they determined it was coming from blue whales. But because they hadn't identified it, you can't say, oh, the Navy knew that blue whales were farting and they didn't tell us. The Navy didn't know. They told the Coast Guard. Hey, are you there? You're frozen. You're frozen in amber. It's quite a good pose. So if you decide to, if I were going to be frozen, I would want to be frozen in the pose you're in right now. You look very handsome, very debonair, very intellectual, and you probably can't hear a word I'm saying. So I'll just keep talking. Here he goes.
There we are. Hello?
Hi, what's happening?
I don't know. For a moment, I was out in limbo. I couldn't see you nor hear you. But now you're here. And apparently, I'm getting now a message from my wife. You are frozen. Too late, darling. I'm unfrozen now. But there is obviously some kind of crap with the internet. But after 3 days of storms, I'm not surprised.
CIA, of course.
Yes. No, they are spying on me, and they don't want us to talk about the Titan because, we might discover the truth behind the government intervention in the search for the submarine in the Titanic.
There's some guy, I don't have anything against him personally. He's a massively successful, I think he's Israeli. And so he wanted to talk about, this was before the Russian coup, the so-called deal was made and all that. So he had Alex Jones on to talk about it. And Alex Jones proceeded to tell us that we were closer to the end of the world than ever before, that Prigozhin is a complete maniac. Prigozhin was going to take over the government and start firing nukes in all direction. And then, just a little while later, it suddenly announced that hey, it's all over. Prigozhin has been pardoned and everybody's happy.
Right.
So,
and exactly, by the way, exactly how was Prigozhin? Because I heard something like that last night. And
yep, you're frozen
so
again now.
For an hour that I couldn't get to sleep.
Go ahead.
How exactly was Prigozhin going to fire those nukes?
I don't know. See, you're not supposed to question this stuff. You're just supposed to run with it.
I am.
So,
oh my.
Yeah. If you question it, then you're part of the conspiracy. Don't you know that?
Yeah. No, I'm definitely a part of the conspiracy. I am one of those who are fed up with the conspiracy of dunces because I cannot stop being a part of this idiocy. I don't know. You and I spoke yesterday.
We did.
Both of us were speculating on, what does this mean? I thought that Prigozhin was clever in trying to appeal to Russian soldiers for the most part, because I saw that as the only possibility of success. If the Russian soldiery runs to your banner, Putin is toast.
Yeah. Nope. That's another very unflattering pose to be frozen in again. I'll screenshot that just for fun. Prigozhin, for those of you who don't know your Russian history, there was an attempted coup in 1991, right before the collapse. There we go.
There we go.
You just said Prigozhin was very clever, and it's true because you remember the attempted coup against Gorbachev in 1991.
Yes.
And that was when the Soviet Union still existed, and Prigozhin, Gorbachev's vice president, led a coup with the hardliners. They brought tanks into Moscow. They brought in paratroopers. They brought in the infantry brigade, a whole armored brigade, actually. So tons and tons and tons of hardware, and it failed. and it made Gorbachev a martyr, and
Yep. And Yeltsin a hero.
and Yeltsin a hero because Yeltsin stood on a tank. Yeltsin was in his dacha, and his advisor said, you should probably be in Moscow. And he said, you're right. So he went to Moscow, and he went right out into the middle of the troops who were trying to overthrow the president.
In front of the Duma, in front of the parliament.
Yep. And he stood on a tank, and he read a statement saying, what you're doing is unconstitutional. It's criminal. You may have problems with Gorbachev, but you don't go about doing it this way. And it turned around the failed coup turned around Gorbachev's popularity, made him popular again, made Yeltsin a national figure who soon became president. So what Prigozhin did was he sidestepped every one of the possible traps. From the beginning, he said, this is not a coup. Okay.
No, that's why we chose to go with the tea room. This is not a coup. I just want to have a cup of tea with him.
Cup of tea. Well, see, he proved his point. He got to within 115 miles of Moscow without, they shot down every aerial platform sent against them. They shot down 3 of the Russian, the Ka-52 Alligator gunships, which are their most advanced gunships, which, again, the Russians said nobody could shoot down, and Putin's men shot it down with shoulder-fired missiles in this weird-ass porcupine anti-aircraft vehicle known as the Pantsir. It's got missiles, it's got a Gatling gun, and it's got something else. But Prigozhin proved his point. The Russians claim he's going into exile. Where? Belarus. Well, if he goes to Belarus, and we don't know if he's going to, we have no idea, he's going to call the shots.
Only he knows.
Putin's done. Putin is done. Did you see the footage of the troops protecting Moscow? Did you see any of those video clips?
I saw several, but I didn't see too many troops. I saw a little bit like younger kids in Red Square that I thought, what are they sending the kindergarten to protect the Kremlin? But I can't say I saw much.
I didn't see any tanks. I saw light armored vehicles. Prigozhin had tanks. He had heavy artillery. He had everything. And he shot down. Okay, the way we defeated the Wagners in Syria was with air power exclusively. And, the unit they call them now a battalion tactical group. The Wagners sent a battalion tactical group of everything that Prigozhin had going into Moscow, and we wiped them out, inflicted 100% casualties on him. So Wagner can fight the Russian military. It can't fight Ukrainians, and it can't fight the United States. So,
in other words, they cannot fight any real military.
Exactly.
But the Russians, hey, what can I tell you? Old mamushkas in little towns in Ukraine with buckets full of cow pee can turn a Russian column around.
Yeah.
This has been proven already.
No. And the Ukrainians, everybody said this is the moment they should attack with their grand offensive. Ukrainians waited, and sure enough, within, I don't know, 30 minutes after Putin made his "this is treason" speech, he made a deal. He made a deal. Drop all charges against Prigozhin, drop all charges against his men. No harm done, no foul, everything's cool. See ya. So Putin's a clown.
Now let me ask you, how difficult is it to take on the Russian military headquarters for Ukraine in Rostov-on-Don?
See,
You know, how many Ukrainians would it take to do that?
well, as Prigozhin proved, and see, this is demented. This is absolutely demented. Well, okay, the Russians have no more weapons left. That's why they couldn't even protect their own military headquarters. Plus, Rostov-on-Don is a massive supply hub. The Russians started blowing up their own oil refineries and oil storage units to keep them out of Prigozhin's hands. How are they going to replace that oil? How are they going to replace those refineries? I mean, it's madness. They lost their heads. Oh, now he's frozen again. Very pensive. A pensive Saul. You know what you should do is you should get a cardboard cutout of yourself with exactly that expression and just prop it up. And there we go. You're back again. No,
I'm just pretending to be Prigozhin.
exactly. Yeah. No, this is a crap show for the Russians because it exposes them as clowns. Can you imagine if, okay, they said it was about 25,000 men. So in the U.S. military, that would be 3-4 brigades.
Yeah.
Let's say 4 brigades started to march on Washington 400 miles. How far do you think they'd get? And they said that they were going to get rid of.
No, they were going to occupy the Pentagon and get rid of the brass.
Exactly. How long do you suppose that convoy would last?
Let's say approximately 15 to 20 minutes.
Exactly.
Is it time to scramble the F-18s?
Yeah. The B-52s, the AC-130s, and wipe them out. And to make a point that you can't do this when Putin is an idiot. I mean, Alex Jones, he's Alex Jones. He's still singing Putin's praises. Putin's moron. He created private armies, and of course they turned against him. He can't control it. They're loyal only to Prigozhin.
And wait until Kadyrov makes a move for Chechnya.
Which he will. Kadyrov
it's only a matter of time.
Yeah. Kadyrov saw what happened with Prigozhin. So, of course, he's going to do that.
Yeah. Why is it that people keep doing the same shit and expecting something else? I have no idea. It's like the Democrats trying to deal with Iran and bring Iran into the family of nations and let's have an accord. And the Iranians systematically shit on their barbecue, sponsor terrorist acts around the world with the money that the Democrats give them. I mean, really, the Iranians have gotten a lot of mileage out of Obama's Swiss francs. And yet they keep doing it.
Yeah.
And the morning after the last time they got screwed royally, they renew their efforts because, we can deal with the mullahs.
Yeah. No, it's we all want the same things. Victor Davis Hanson calls it the therapeutic view of geopolitics. We all want the same things, and they're acting this way out of misunderstanding. They're afraid of us. So if we just get on our knees and tie our own hands behind our backs and lift our head and give them our throats and say, "See, we trust you." Oh, and before we do all that, hand them a razor sharp scimitar, and then we say, "We trust you."
Alternatively, we can bend over, grab our ankles, and sing "God Save the Queen."
Yeah.
Oh, maybe that's why Biden was wanted to sing "God Save the Queen" the other day. We may have stumbled upon a very interesting bit of
Can you
insight.
like
Uh, hmm?
let's say Putin started firing tactical nukes at Prigozhin, and Joe Biden is the president. I mean, it's what a moment right now in
No.
our history.
We had a moment at a round table yesterday where people were talking about, what can really be done with Iran and all that jazz. And of course, somebody proposed. And before anybody claims that I am criticizing this chap, who is incidentally a wonderful man, uh, that we ought to consider even regime change, that as long as the mullahs are in charge, there's not going to be a solution there. Now, how that comes about, supporting the people of Iran in getting rid of these assholes like we did not do in 2009 when Obama came to rescue the mullahs from their own demise, it doesn't matter. But as long as the mullahs are in place, we're not going to have anything decent come out of it. And at one point, people from all over the Middle East were suggesting the same thing. One cannot deal with these guys. We need to make sure that uh, the regime is history over there. And but nobody seemed to be able to say how. And I said, well, maybe because before we get ourselves involved into regime change in Iran, we need to start at home for the allies, the necessary allies that the mullahs depend on in order to continue their reign of evil stupidity, are the guys who are, I don't know, at the head of the State Department and Defense Department and the White House today.
Well, see,
I don't think with Blinken and Biden and Blinken and bombing, we're going to do shit with these guys.
well, see, all sorts of stuff ties in. For one thing, it's the soft bigotry of low expectations. The mullahs are nominally non-Caucasian. They are Caucasian,
They are the true aliens, if you ask me.
but they're not considered Caucasians. Putin is considered white. So Putin and the mullahs are judged by two different standards. And we can't take harsh measures with the mullahs because we don't want to harm these brown people. And we don't mind.
Iranians, brown people, these guys are profoundly ignorant, aren't they?
Well, yeah, I mean, Iranians are as white as you and me,
Or more.
or more. I mean, there's all sorts of blue-eyed, red-headed, blonde-headed. It's also stupid. But okay, Putin's white, so we can say openly we want regime change in Russia, but we can't say it in Iran. And as to your point about the locals in the area, I just heard a report about I forgot the state, the Mexican state that's the most violent right now. It's right on the border. I'm sorry, I'll have to check the Mexican states. I knew the name earlier, and it's unforgivable that I can't remember it.
Oh, it happens. We get to an age where brain farts are rather common.
Let's see, bordering U.S. Okay. No, I said Mexican states, you idiots. For God's sake.
You're under. By the way, I would help you. I would help you, but the stupid computer I have here, it took me an hour just to get to the chat in this event. If I move screens, I fear I might lose it altogether.
No, Chihuahua, Coahuila, Sonora, Nuevo Leon. I think it's Tamaulipas.
Tamaulipas is violent as hell.
I think so.
I don't know if it is the
And
most violent, but it is a very violent place.
I think it's that one they were talking about. And everyone's talking about the corruption of the police.
It's not on the border though.
Hold on. Yeah, it borders Texas.
Yeah, that's
okay. The states bordering the United States, the Mexican states, are Baja California, Sonora,
yep.
Chihuahua, Coahuila.
Coahuila,
and
yes.
Tamaulipas. And then,
okay, there we go.
And then
I thought it was the second tier.
Nuevo Leon is really weird because it looks like it borders it, but it also looks like it doesn't. But anyway, let's not get lost in the weeds here. Everybody criticizes Mexican cops. Well, if you're not corrupt in the state of Tamaulipas, you're dead. They come to you and they say, do our bidding and here's some money or we'll kill you. And
yep.
you know,
plata o plomo.
Exactly. Silver or lead. Take the silver money or eat a lead bullet. And
yep.
There's no other way to do business there. And the Mexican government is useless. They've proven that they could take out this problem in a matter of weeks using helicopters with Gatling guns, but they won't do it because they're making too much money.
No. I was going to say because they are partners in the silver or lead circuit. Everybody in the Mexican government is living off of this racket.
The Mexican defense minister spent his whole career helping out the cartels. After he retired, he came to the U.S. to visit like an idiot, and he was arrested. And so the drunken socialist who wears his serape all the time, he told the United States that unless they released him immediately, he would prohibit the DEA from operating in Mexico. So this guy was released, and he was given a hero's welcome. And this is a guy with so much blood on his hands that but who cares in the government? They don't care, the higher ups. So that's how the people surrounding Iran are. I mean, Iran, despite everything, they've got the power to murder whoever they want to murder in the region. They do it. They tried to do it to the Thais, and it didn't work. Do you need to go for a minute? Do you need to go for a minute?
No. We're fine.
Okay. What was I going to say? Yeah, they tried to do that in Thailand. They sent in a bomber, and he blew off his own legs. And there was hilarious video of this guy lying on the sidewalk, kicking his stumps, begging for help. And they finally did get him, and he survived, believe it or not. But his blue jeans were up in a tree. It was the funniest thing I've ever seen. So they skipped out of Thailand because it was too humiliating. And the Thais occasionally go on terrorist mopping up operations where they just mow down everybody who's involved in terrorism because, Thailand depends entirely on tourism. And
oh yeah,
what
would Thailand do without all of those German and Canadian 50-year-olds looking to get laid with a 14-year-old?
Yep.
Or a 6-year-old?
Yeah. And the Middle East is the same. The tribalism and all of that, it prevents them. Nobody trusts the Saudis, despite the fact that they should.
Yes.
And so they're between a rock and a hard place when it comes to, what the hell do? We don't trust the Saudis. The Iranians are threatening us. Okay, we'll do what the Iranians want. And that's why the mullahs need to be overthrown, because whoever replaces them isn't going to be the same.
No, I mean, I'm willing to, considering the noxious character of the mullahs, the proven evil disposition of the mullahs. I'm willing to, roll the dice and see what comes next. It certainly won't be worse. It could be the same thing, and we have to continue doing this. But by luck of the draw, it's going to be an improvement.
Well,
without any plans.
In the case of Russia, I heard all these experts saying that they would prefer Putin to Prigozhin. I would prefer Prigozhin 100 times over Putin, because Putin is delusional. Putin doesn't have the internet. Putin doesn't know anything about the outside world. Putin refuses. He's lost in the 18th century. Prigozhin speaks English. He hides it. He understands. He gets.
I don't know. Yeah, Prigozhin is a psychopath. But then again, so is Putin.
Yeah.
Both are delusional, as far as I'm concerned. I don't have a horse in that battle.
Yeah, I mean,
it's one or the other. It's the same crap. I don't think that Prigozhin would be able to survive a year if he were ever to get anywhere near the Kremlin. He lacks the deviousness necessary for survival.
Well, this is why I don't think he was actually angling for president. I think he was doing the work of somebody else, and maybe that work is finished. Maybe Putin is.
For all I know, he was doing Putin's work.
What did Putin get out of this?
No, who knows what the power struggle is in there? Why is Prigozhin going against Shoigu and the military brass while making a point that they're lying to Putin, and Putin needs somebody to tell him the truth, and these people are betraying him? He's actually kind of like trying to make Putin look like he's been fooled by an asshole, and freeing his hand to act accordingly. I mean, I'm just speculating.
Yeah. No, my own opinion is that Prigozhin was sponsored by somebody who wanted to fatally injure Putin and draw attention. Prigozhin was the vehicle, because Prigozhin gave an 8. It's pretty interesting. I saw something, and it said that before this little shindig, Prigozhin was virtually unknown in Russia. Now everybody knows him, and they all watched his 8-minute interview where he said the whole war was based on a lie. There's no Nazis in the Ukrainian government.
Yep.
The Ukrainians weren't harming us at all. The only reason we went in there was so that Shoigu could end his career as a marshal of the Russian Federation, and also Putin's buddies. Putin was going to overthrow Zelensky and put one of his cronies in there, and then the Russian Putin's buddies could rape Ukraine for everything, for every penny they could get out of it.
Yeah,
that's what Prigozhin said to Russian people, and they've got a lot to chew on right now. And what does Putin have? he was unable to stop Prigozhin. The notion that Lukashenko served as a mediator, he didn't do anything. He's a half dead puppet.
Lukashenko got a call from Putin. You're gonna get this guy in there, okay? And that was it. That was the extent of his participation in this.
No, Lukashenko presented Putin's or Putin's. See, we don't even know. The only sort of active player in this whole charade, I think. Well, actually, we don't know. I mean, I think that Prigozhin was definitely active at the behest of somebody else. I think Putin is on another planet. Did you see his little speech?
Now, if you were fearful of Putin, would you choose Lukashenko for your protector?
No, of course not.
Okay, so
That's why.
I guess Prigozhin is not really preoccupied with the possibility that Putin may still want his liver.
That's the thing, and we have no idea where Shoigu and Gerasimov are right now. After Putin made his alleged statement, if you watch the statement with the sound turned off, it looks really friggin' weird. His mouth looks really weird.
Yes, it does.
Yes,
it does.
So apparently Putin flew all the way into the heartland of Russia, and then he turned around and came back, or at least one of his aircraft did. So I have no idea what's happening. The only thing I can say is that Putin clearly has lost control.
Yeah. Well, this is obvious. I mean, however this thing came to be, the notion that mercenaries armed to the teeth can walk into Russia from Ukraine without so much as a border guard to stop them, go into the city housing the headquarters for the war in Ukraine, which has got to be one of the most sensitive locations for the Russian army today, and actually walk around. They blockaded the town, but apparently they left the lawns around the buildings quite free, so that the tanks could just swing around the barricades onto the lawn, and they were on the other side. And they walked into the headquarters and took them over. And can you imagine? And you have a couple of hundred people from the Patriotic Front pretty much doing what they want in Belgorod Oblast, not in the city, but in the province around the city. And you have to wonder how stable this whole edifice is. I see it wobbling. I see there are no foundations.
You got that right. Why the hell wouldn't you guard? I mean, it's not a widely known issue, but in 2008, when the current Kim is Kim Jong-un. So this
Kim
was
Jong-un. Kim Il-sung was the
Kim Il-sung was the first Kim. The second Kim was Kim Jong-il. Kim Jong-il or Song-il? Jong-il?
I don't know. Take your pick. So I don't speak Korean.
Kim number 2, the successor to the founder of North Korea, his presidential guard had a street battle with the North Korean People's Liberation Army, because the presidential guard is separate from the People's Liberation Army. And there was, the army only supports you if you can keep the money coming in, because, those guys all live in mansions that would make a Russian oligarch, embarrassed.
Hey, somebody has to pay for the horse, baby.
Exactly. And so whatever Kim the Kims are, whatever Kim number 2 was, he was well protected. And if you look at the guys running this alleged special military operation in Ukraine, they had zero protection. Also, Gerasimov, the army chief, no, he's the guy in charge of the operation. He suddenly left the night before Prigozhin's men walked in. So, plus the U.S. said that they could see that Prigozhin was going to do something because he was assembling all his troops and they were gassing up their vehicles and they were doing all this stuff. If the U.S. could see it, couldn't the Russians have seen it? You know?
Listen, the soldiers in Prigozhin's ragtag army of bandits were calling their families on regular phones.
Yep.
Just to say goodbye. I want you to know if I'd love you if anything should happen in the next 48 hours. Everybody knew they were planning something.
Yeah.
Except for the Russians, who were probably too drunk to figure it out.
Well, this is the thing that it's not just the Russian army that's a paper tiger. It's the whole frigging thing.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
I don't know. I just, it's very weird. The only thing that I can say is I don't know what the hell is going on. I don't know what the real story is. There's obviously a whole lot of stuff happening that isn't, I don't take anything at face value. And
no,
whatever this was, I was hoping that it was, on the level. It obviously wasn't.
It isn't. It isn't. Listen, whenever I see something like this, and by the way, these negotiations, when did they take place?
Exactly.
1 minute, Putin is calling for the practical beheading of Prigozhin, a traitor who needs to die. If they don't stop, we're going to blow him out of the road, which, by the way, they could have done fairly easily. Prigozhin, we're going to go to Moscow and we're going to take on Shoigu. And we're going to teach him what's good because they're responsible for the deaths of tens of thousands of soldiers. Oh my God, when we took over the headquarters, they had 18-year-olds defending it. They sent kids from school without training to die in a war they created. I mean, come on, really. Prigozhin was sounding like Cold Pink here. And then, out of the blue, okay, now, you know what? I don't want to spill Russian blood, especially mine.
Yeah.
So, somebody says, since when do the Russians are concerned about the spilling of Russian blood? Well, when it's yours, you are. So the spilling of Russian blood, in the case of Prigozhin, meant the spilling of his own blood.
Maybe.
So I don't want to spill my blood. I'm out of here. I'll send you a postcard from Belarus, where Putin's closest ally is going to welcome me with hugs and kisses, a warm samovar, and some hot borscht, and a gallon of vodka, and I'd rather be there. What happened there? It really took a single phone call?
No.
Because that's what happened there.
Yeah, that's what happened. And it's all, I mean, he went through all the trouble. He was 115 miles from Moscow. The people guarding Moscow didn't even have tanks. Prigozhin had heavy artillery. He could have set up the heavy artillery, and they shot down 2 or 3 they shot down 3 helicopters and at least 2 fixed wing bombers. So,
Yeah.
you know, they
Can,
could,
can you imagine if a Ukrainian division breaks the defensive line in say, Donetsk Oblast and keep advancing? They could make it to Moscow in under 2 days without resistance. There is nothing there to stop them.
yeah, yeah.
Now, some idiot is going to tell you, well, then the Russians can throw nuclear weapons on them. Yeah, right, in their own fucking backyard.
Yeah, they're going to nuke. They're going to nuke Russia. Come on.
They're going to nuke Voronezh, 200 miles from Moscow. Yeah, they're going to do that. Bullshit.
Well,
If you
again,
get that far, you're in, baby.
you're in. Also, people need to remember we don't even know if the Russian nuclear arsenal is functional. They haven't cared
No.
anything. They don't even care for rifles and uniforms. So you're telling me they're extra careful with their nukes? No. Putin gave an interview years ago where he said the point isn't to be strong. The point is to give the impression that you're strong. So
Exactly.
you know, if he threatens to use nuclear weapons, then in the past that always worked, and this time it's not working. But okay, they can definitely blow up the power plant, but
Yep.
that may be a bridge too far.
By the way, right now it would be very limited damage. The last reactor was closed down last week. There are no operating reactors. You still have to keep them cool,
Yeah.
but it is a not quite so hard task anymore.
Well, also, you know, that's the sort of thing that just might get a massive reaction from the West. Maybe Putin doesn't think so, but what Prigozhin did was he proved that Russia can't defend itself. So Russia is lying.
That was my point.
Yeah.
He got. I mean, imagine a column going from Miami to DC.
Yeah.
That gets all the way up to Richmond.
Yeah.
In less than 2 days, which means these sons of bitches were going 60 miles an hour on that highway at least.
Yeah. No, definitely.
And then they get there and they decide to go someplace else, but really the road is open and there are no defenders. And all the Russian government can do is tell the residents of Moscow to stay home.
Well, think about this. The Russian military didn't make threats. It begged them to stop. Okay? It begged them. They got some general who helped Prigozhin set up the Wagner group begging him to stop. They weren't threatening him. They were begging.
Yeah. I don't think they had much. And that is really telling you the depth of the pickle the Russians are in.
Yeah.
They don't have anybody to defend their borders. They don't have anybody to defend their headquarters. They don't have anybody to defend the freaking Kremlin, for crying out loud.
Yeah. They're all in Ukraine.
At the same time, about 3 drones from Ukraine, again, fell just short of Moscow. But the thing is that it's a very precarious situation for the Russians.
Yeah. Well, see,
they're not defending the occupied line in Ukraine. They're defending their own ass.
See, just to get personal for a minute, both my parents died.
By the way, we've been on YouTube long enough. So if you don't mind, I'm going to get us out of YouTube in 1 second. I just got a message. Do you know you're still in YouTube?
No.
And then I remember, well, we haven't done anything. But by the way, everybody in YouTube, if you want to keep watching us, please come to Odyssey. Um, we've already stayed too long there, man. Now, how the hell am I supposed to do this in this new setup that I'm using? Holy crap. No, not here. Not here. What a predicament. Mm. You go talking. I'll try to do this.
What?
You keep talking, and I'll try to do this. And
Oh,
and you know,
I was
bye
just
bye,
going to say,
you boob.
to get personal for a minute, both my parents died of cancer in 2013, and neither of them accepted it. Um, they denied their cancer right up until the moment that they died, and they never came to terms with it. They never made peace with it. So there was no discussing anything with them. There was no um, just human to human interaction. They